What a time to be alive, my friend. This is truly amazing. What's the next shoe to drop, Roger Stone?
Well, Alex, it's interesting. The mainstream media is literally going out of their minds over the fact that Donald Trump this morning tweeted a link to a video regarding Islamic terrorists killing a Dutchman who was in crutches. He also took a good, solid shot at his nemesis, Joe Scarborough. There'll be more on the Joe Scarborough story coming out, and we'll bring it to you here first at InfoWars. But it is interesting to me, Alex, that the president acts very Trumpian after a refreshing weekend in Palm Beach. As you know, we reported here at InfoWars that General John Kelly, according to Vanity Fair, had a tight plan to block access to the president during his arrest period in Palm Beach, and that the president wouldn't be able to go to the main dining room. Well, my sources tell me he was holding court in the main dining room, talking to friends old and new, and when he came back to the job, he was on the attack through his Twitter feed. The entire media is now scratching their heads as to why the president is being Trump. They ask me, what's his strategy? What Machiavellian play is this? No Machiavellian play. Donald Trump's the real thing. He's the genuine article. He had no problem taking a shot at Joe Scarborough because Scarborough's taken numerous shots at him. This is the Donald Trump that we elected. He is exulting over the firing of Matt Lauer, and he is on offense.
That's right, Matt Lauer going along with the made-up PP gate, going along with the made-up, edited tape about grabbing by the whatever. Meanwhile, Trump retweets video of alleged attacks on Muslims. Fox News even acts like it's alleged. These are documented, real known cases. Again, throwing gays off buildings, you name it. They have totally jumped the shark in that they're demonizing him for the big taboo because all the murders, all the bombings, all the shootings, all the attacks, they never say it's Islamic. He has broken the Carton rule to talk about our Lord and Saviors, the Islamicists.
Well, and Alex, I had calls today from working reporters at the Washington Post, at Politico. They all want to know, well, where did the president get these links? The links are online. The president's capable of having someone go online and find it for him if he's heard about it, or find it himself. It is interesting to me the way he continues to confound his critics. Now, the New York Times has reported that he is bringing the NBC Billy Bush tape into question, at least its authenticity, and that privately he has continued to express some concerns about the president's birth certificate. I have not heard him say either one. I don't know anyone that he has said either one to, but I do know the reporters in question, and I believe that they do have some solid sources. For those in the base, it shows that Donald Trump is still Donald Trump.
We're getting Laura Loomer on the line right now. She's got her confrontation with Laura Sorcerer coming up, but the fact that these are all known video clips that have already been confirmed, throwing the gays off the buildings, beating the Dutch man to death, doing all this to imply that Islam, when they go to the bathroom, flowers come out. I mean, the media acting like, oh, Trump's done it now. That shows this is what he should be doing every day. Whatever they say don't do, whatever they say is discrediting, it's the opposite. Whatever they say, you should do the opposite.
Well, we've had a sea change. This was unthinkable under Barack Obama. Barack Obama and Hillary Clinton wouldn't admit that Islamic terrorism even existed. It's a new day. There's a new sheriff in town, and the videos that the president sent are consistent with his policies on destroying ISIS.
That's right. You're coming up. There she is, Laura Loomer, right there on screen. Briefly, folks, free shipping is going to have to end tomorrow. It's been going on for a week and a half. We got 50% off on a bunch of the best-selling items, books, films, T-shirts, the Real Red Pill, amazing. Wow, talk about comboing it with Brain Force. It's all there, InfoWarsStore.com, InfoWarsLive.com. or 888-253-3139. And I want to thank you all for building InfoWars. I want to thank you all for being the victory. I don't want to just thank Roger or Laura or you. All of us together, the crew that puts up with me, because I mean, it's not an act what I'm doing here on air. I mean, I'm a maniac because not in personal life, but when I deal with this stuff, I mean, this is war. So InfoWarsStore.com, InfoWarsLife.com, or 888-253-3139. A bunch of specials have already had to end because we sold out of some of our best-selling items, but there's a bunch of stuff left. Silver Bullet, Brain Force, Survival Shield, Super Male, Knockout, the new Red Pill, even though it's a brand new product, 50% off. I want you to see how great it is. Brain Force, you name it, and free shipping, InfoWarsStore.com or 888-253-3139. Coming up, Laura Loomer stood up one of the Islamic dirtbags in America, one of the biggest pieces of filth.
Welcome back to the Alex Jones Show. I'm your pinch-hitting host, Roger Stone. Joining me now is scrappy guerrilla conservative journalist Laura Loomer, who has extraordinary breaking news about recent irregularities in Washington when it comes to the use of the presidential limousine. Laura, lay it on us.
Thanks for having me, Roger. Yeah, so I was teasing this story earlier last week with Alex Jones, but I was able to, speak with the source who provided me with the information and their own firsthand encounter, and they've agreed to do an exclusive interview. So in 1999, this source, who will be unnamed for now until they do their interview, was working as a White House advanced staff member in California under Bill Clinton's presidency. And Bill Clinton would come to Los Angeles, California, and he would stay at the Century Plaza Hotel. And while he was staying there, on numerous occasions, he would hang out with Hollywood political donors who were friends of his. As we know, Bill Clinton is friends with Kevin Spacy. He's friends with Harvey Weinstein. And a lot of these other problematic male Hollywood elitists who are now being accused of sexual harassment and rape and sexual assault. And according to this staffer, he was instructed by another White House staffer under Bill Clinton to entertain Kevin Spacy. So he used one of the presidential motorcades, and this was, I guess, standard with Bill Clinton's presidency, to entertain Kevin Spacy, and took Kevin Spacy out for dinner to nightclubs with other individuals who were working with Bill Clinton. Sometimes Bill Clinton was present as well. And according to the source, he engaged in a sexual act or had sex with Kevin Spacy in one of these official presidential motorcade cars. And he's not claiming that Spacy assaulted him or harassed him. It was consensual. But what he has an issue with and wanted to expose is this blatant abuse of political power and resources on the taxpayer dime, right? Literally using presidential motorcades, which we pay for as taxpayers, to have sex. Right, to allow your friends who are now being accused of being pedophiles and having to apologize for touching underage boys, for your own sexual perversions and delights. And it gets worse. And he went on to say that sometimes the motorcade vehicles used to transport Bill Clinton would smell of alcohol and marijuana. And another individual who's also implicated in this is Al Gore, who also ran for president. Al Gore was present at some of these events that Bill Clinton would have at the Century Plaza Hotel when he was in town in California. And according to the staffer, he was instructed to go on late night Heineken runs for Al Gore. So he would go out and buy 6 packs of Heineken for Al Gore, drop them off at his hotel room, and then Al Gore would order masseuses to come to his room late at night. And this was all documented by the source, of course, who has photographs with Bill Clinton in front of Air Force One with Al Gore, photographic evidence proving that he, in fact, was an advance employee. And it's really interesting that this is all coming to light now because in 2006, Al Gore was actually accused. An official complaint was filed against him for sexual abuse. And it was filed by a masseuse at a hotel who claimed that Al Gore ordered a masseuse to come to his room at a very expensive hotel very late at night, and that the session was 3 hours long, and that he sexually abused her.
So to recap the stunning story, your source, and we went through this morning, you've got this cold, said that the presidential motorcade was being used to pick up and transport prostitutes and other party favors for Bill Clinton, as well as sending the presidential limousine out on a beer run for Al Gore. And this is really incredible. A gay hookup in the back of the presidential limousine for Kevin Spacy because he's an FOB, friend of Bill. Extraordinary. Now, I know you plan to roll this out with your source because we don't put anything on the air at Infowars.com. We don't have a high degree of confidence, has checked out. And I know that you are indefatigable in terms of tracking these things down. By the way, Laura brought my attention to the fact that Hillary and Chelsea Clinton are in New York City tonight, where they have a joint book signing of the books that neither one of them wrote at the Strand bookstore on West Broadway in downtown Manhattan. Gee, that's funny. Loomer and Stone, they're in New York. Laura, maybe I'll see you over there later.
Yeah, just like we were talking earlier. Looking forward to seeing you later, Roger.
This could be a near riot. Look, so I find this to be an extraordinary story. Later on, coming up, we have Kevin Barry, who is the author of the book Vaccine Whistleblower and heads Freedom First, a group arguing that mandatory vaccinations are unconstitutional, and also vaccination activist Michelle Ford talking to us about the over $3.7 billion that have been paid out to people damaged by government-required vaccines. Laura Loomer, thank you so much for joining us on the Alex Jones Show, and I'll see you later.
See you later, Roger. Thanks for having me.
Folks, now would be a superb time for you to go to the Infowars.com store, where we have some extraordinary specials. And I feel that I'm remiss if I don't remind you that we here at Infowars are completely listener and viewer supported. We don't have any globalist billionaires, any shady red Chinese writing big checks to cover our expansion or our broadcasts. We have to depend solely on the patriots and info warriors who loyally go to this site. And some of these sales absolutely blow my mind. Silver Bullet, the very best colloidal silver product, I think, in the market, 67% off. My all-time favorite, which is, of course, Brain Force Plus, making this broadcast entirely possible. I find that it brings me mental clarity and mental energy. These are just two examples of the extraordinary sales going on now at the Infowars.com store. Brain Force Plus, $19.95, an extraordinary price. That's 50% off. You don't want to be without this. It makes those 12 and 15-hour days manageable. So folks, please go to the Infowars.com store and help us help you. Help us continue to spear fight the fight for America. Welcome back. You're on the Alex Jones Show. Joining me now is the author of a terrific book called Vaccine Whistleblower. It is a book recounting the tape-recorded conversations with Dr. William Thompson, the federal official charged with vaccine safety. Kevin Barry, who is the head of First Freedoms, an activist active in the movement to question the safety of vaccinations, joins me now. Kevin, welcome to the Alex Jones Show.
Thank you very much, Roger. Thanks for having me.
So, Kevin, first of all, tell us about your book and what it says, and tell us about the stunning information that you have learned out of California, a state which has now recently made it a requirement that children be vaccinated before they can attend the public schools.
Right. Dr. Thompson is a CDC vaccine safety researcher. Four recorded calls were done by Dr. Brian Hooker, who's an activist in California. And the headline of what Dr. Thompson is saying is that vaccine safety is an open question. And he's in a position to know because he's a named author on studies of thimerosal, the mercury preservative in vaccines, and on the MMR vaccine. And he says that research that he was a named author on the MMR was fraudulent. And he says that he would never give his wife a thimerosal-containing shot if she was pregnant. So of the entire vaccine schedule, which is allegedly safe, the only two things they ever looked at, they found problems with both. So how that applies to California? Do you want me to go right to California?
Yes, please.
Well, in 2015, California they whipped up a frenzy about a few measles cases in Disneyland, none of which were transmitted in schools. And they passed vaccine mandates covering the 39 million citizens of California. 1/8 of Americans live in California. So they got a captive market. So that bill was dropped in March 2015. The same week that bill was dropped, the CalPAC, the California Medical Association's Political Action Committee, donated $100,000, a little over $100,000, to the California Democratic Party. And then that bill passed through all the California committees, the House, the Senate, and was signed by the Democratic governor. All those committees, both houses, were dominated by the Democratic Party. And that bill passed, and 39 million Californians are suffering the consequences.
It's extraordinary to me that the federal government has paid out over $3.5 billion to Americans who were damaged or injured by mandatory vaccinations. Yet Congressman Adam Schiff has sponsored essentially a sense of the House resolution, which declares that the federal government has never spent a dime, has never paid out a dime in damages done by vaccinations. This is like sponsoring legislation that says, for example, the Holocaust never happened. We're going to talk about this with Michelle Ford, who is active with the Vaccination Injury Awareness League coming up. But I commend your book, Kevin, to anyone who questions this story of the unsafety of vaccinations. Tired of being called a conspiracy theorist and a crook when the science and the numbers show the enormous damage. I, by the way, believe that there's probably nothing wrong with vaccinations. It's what's in the vaccinations that seems to be causing problems. And evidently changing that would cost big pharma millions and millions of dollars. I'm extraordinarily disappointed in this narrow sense. Look, I love the record stock market. I love unemployment at an all-time low. I love the record housing market. I like the fact that the president seems determined to renegotiate some of these bum trade agreements that are destroying our job market. But where I am very disappointed was in the president's announcement when he was the president-elect that he would appoint a commission to investigate vaccination safety, and that he would ask the activist and environmentalist Robert F. Kennedy Jr., the senator of the late New York senator, the son of the late New York senator, to head such a commission. Kennedy is known as a man of integrity who's extremely well versed on this issue. Yet since that time, the president has declared an opioid crisis, and he's appointed a commission to pursue that, which is a vital public health issue. But so far, we have no commission, and I am told that Mr. Kennedy hears nothing from the White House. This is disappointing because the president is known to have his own personal concerns about the safety of vaccinations. He expressed them numerous times in the campaign. Does the president know that his FDA appointee to head the FDA is a mandatory vaccination advocate? It really is extraordinary that we're allowing the massive wealth transfer of billions of dollars in injuries to chronic lifetime medical issues while removing millions of future adults from ever working because of this mandatory vaccination policy. Vaccination safety requires rigorous science backed by true quality control. We don't have that today. None of it exists in the FDA, something that the president should understand as a builder and someone who is exacting in his standards. So I ask again, I call on the president, please follow through on your pledge. Let's see where the science is. You can appoint advocates of vaccinations to the commission if you wish. Mr. Kennedy would be an able choice to chair this panel and get to the bottom of this question. As for this Christmas, I urge you to pick up a copy of Kevin Barry's terrific book, Vaccination or Vaccine Whistleblower. This was the first book that I read on the topic, and it very, very clearly opened my eyes. Kevin Barry, thanks for joining us here on the Alex Jones Show. Folks,
Thank you, Barry.
This is an issue that I think most of you know the mainstream media has a virtual blockade on. You're not going to find CNN or Fox or ABC or NBC or CBS talking about the issue of vaccination safety. Yet we plow straight ahead here at InfoWars, going where the science and the facts take us. And if you like our style, if you like the way we are busting the chops of the political establishment, take a moment to go to the Infowars.com store now and look at the terrific, deep discounted products there. This is the lifeblood of InfoWars. This is what keeps us able to expand and bring you stunning news like today. Gay hookups in the presidential limousine. Bill Clinton using the presidential limousine to trawl for hookers. You won't find the stunning truth in the mainstream media. You'll only find it in a handful of alt-right and conservative independent media organizations. And the very best of those, the cutting edge, the tip of the spear, is right here at InfoWars. Please go to the store, folks, and help us keep this fight alive. Welcome back to the Alex Jones Show. I'm your host, Roger Stone. Joining us now is Michelle Ford of the Vaccination Injury Awareness League, an activist and one of the most informed people I know on the issue of vaccination safety. It was Michelle Ford who brought my attention to the idea that Congressman Adam Schiff has sponsored essentially a resolution declaring that the federal government has never paid out even a farthing, even a penny for injury of citizens by vaccinations. Michelle, would you now correct the record for us?
Thank you so much, Roger. Yes, I'd love to correct the record. Because, essentially Adam Schiff is saying that there's no credible evidence whatsoever of vaccine injury, yet the Federal Court of Claims has paid out over $3.7 billion since the National Childhood Vaccine Injury Act was passed in 1986. So it's ridiculous to try to make a claim that vaccine injuries don't exist when the government is regularly paying out vaccine injuries. It's horrible.
And where does that information exist? How do we document that that has happened?
Oh my goodness. Well, my favorite place to find it is the Mom Street Journal. Lori Gregory is a blogger and a mom, and she has done incredible research on the Federal Court of Claims. And actually 1 year ago today, November 29th, 2016, she reported on a flu vaccine injury payout increase of almost 400%. And then shortly thereafter, when the 2016 report came out, she issued another blog post indicating that the flu vaccine injury had increased by an additional 1,188% over prior year. So I love to go to the momstreetjournal.com because she's got all of the embedded links, and you can quickly and easily locate the Federal Court of Claims report that will bring you right to the Federal Court of Claims. Because if you try to Google it, you're going to be on a little bit of a rabbit hole witch hunt looking for that thing. But it's right there embedded on her articles.
Well, I'm very familiar with the terrific work of Lori Gregory. We're going to get her on here at InfoWars to continue our dialogue on this important issue. As I recall, there's actually a website, doesn't have much of a search engine, that is posted by the government that details these incredible payouts. So it's hard to fathom how a member of Congress can deny reality. It's like saying the sky isn't blue or rain isn't wet. It is an undisputed fact. I don't know if Mr. Schiff is seeking contributions from Big Pharma or why he would promulgate a lie, an extraordinary lie. You brought my attention to the website. Tell us a little bit about that.
Which website are you talking about? The Federal Court of Claims website?
Yes.
Sorry,
let me give you the exact name from some of your extraordinary research. But this is the national, let's see, here it is. The HMOs under the CDC collected this information, Kaiser and others. And so address that if you would.
Okay, so there's something called the Vaccine Safety Data Link. And It was in partnership with the CDC. It was formed in the early 1990s after the National Childhood Vaccine Injury Act went into effect. And essentially, Roger, it's a warehouse of data that independent researchers do not have easy access to. In fact, I only know of 2 independent science researchers who had access to it, and they were not allowed to photograph the details, take photocopies, remove any of the data from their visit, essentially. They were only able to take notes. But there are several medical insurance HMOs that participate in warehousing this vaccine data. And if they would just allow independent researchers to have access to that data, the public would be able to scrutinize the data that's in there and have a look at what's really going on. But the data is being kept private from the public. I believe that there's about a $10 million annual budget to keep it locked up through the America's Health Insurance Plans, the AHIP. And because it's a private entity, the AHIP, that information cannot be requested through the Freedom of Information Act. So we've got Kaiser Permanente of Washington, the Northwest, Northern California, Southern California, Colorado. We also have Health Partners in Minnesota, Marshfield Clinic in Wisconsin, Harvard Pilgrim in Maine, and all of these HMOs partner with the CDC to keep the information away from the public. So it's horrible that we don't have access to that data.
Yeah, you've got almost 2 decades of information that the American people should be entitled to, and it documents the very payouts that we're talking about, the payouts that Adam Schiff insists never really happened. What is your view now of the president's seeming inaction on his pledge to appoint a commission to study vaccination safety? I know that you, like me, were very pleased by the president's indication that Robert Kennedy Jr., the son of the former New York U.S. Senator, would head such a commission under the Trump administration. But as I understand it, despite that early offer by the president, or I should say promise, Mr. Kennedy has heard nothing. How do you think we can get this back on track?
I think that, Trump is a businessman, and Trump needs to be able to have access to these numbers. Is he aware that there's been $3.7 billion paid out in vaccine injury? Is he aware that there's about $10 million a year keeping information away from the American public? Is someone in Congress keeping track of the increased number of children with disabilities? Is anyone keeping track of the exorbitant expenses involved with raising a child with autism? We're essentially trading short-term illness, a short-term disease, for chronic, lifelong illness. And it's crippling our country. It will, in the long term, cripple our economy. And Dr. Stephanie Seneff of MIT, she's an incredibly gifted mathematician, and she's got so many letters after her name, I don't even know all of them, but she did the math and essentially figured out that by the year 2032, 50% of all children are going to be diagnosed with autism, and 80% of boys. So what's that going to do to our country as an economy? How are we going to be a viable force in this world? So I think that if someone can speak to Trump about the numbers, that may be the thing that's going to have him wake up to this reality. The other thing too, Roger, if you don't mind that I take a moment, Please. I really urge the president to overturn Executive Order number 13139, which was the executive order under Bill Clinton, which mandated anthrax vaccines for all of our active duty military. It is a forced situation. These active duty military have no choice in the matter. There have been court martials, and this is horrible. We're seeing lots and lots of disability. There's an incredible film called Vaccine Syndrome by a filmmaker named Scott Miller, who has spent the last 15 years detailing what's happening to our active duty military's health and, frankly, the health of their offspring by having had to be forced to take the anthrax vaccine. So it's not just a problem for children, it's also a problem for adults. We saw, earlier this week, 50 nurses in Minnesota were excused from their job by Essentia Health in Minnesota for refusing to take the flu vaccine. And some of these nurses didn't want to take the vaccine because they had suffered a vaccine reaction. So vaccine reactions are very real. Pretending that they don't exist would be like pretending that other drugs don't have reactions. And we know that that's simply not the truth. They do cause reactions.
All right. Thank you, Michelle Ford, for joining us here on the Alex Jones Show. And stay on top of it. Scout, Lori Gregory, many thanks.